My girlfriend looked me dead in the eye at dinner with her family and said, "Either you pay my brother's $72,000 tuition or we're done." Her mom nodded. Her dad just watched. So I left, quiet, calm, drove straight to my sister-in-law's, and paid off her house instead. The second she said it, my fork froze halfway to my mouth. "Either you do this, or we're done." My name's Derek. I'm 32. I run a custom motorcycle rebuild shop in Pine Creek, North Carolina. Small town, quiet shop, nothing fancy, but it's mine. I've been with my girlfriend, Tessa, for 4 years. Long enough to start talking about the future. We kept our money separate, which I thought was smart. But we were building towards something. At least, I thought we were. Sunday dinner at her parents' place was a regular thing. Her dad, Rick, owns a Chevy dealership a few towns over, drives a different truck every few months. Her mom, Diane, floats around in silk blouses and drinks white wine like it's water. Her younger brother, Chase, 19, still acts like he's 12. I figured out early on that he never heard the word no. This particular Sunday, dinner went normal. Roast beef, potatoes, some store-bought pie. After dessert, we were still sitting at the table when Rick leaned back and said, "Big news. Chase just got into Skyfront Aviation Academy in Florida." Diane clapped like he'd cured cancer. "It's the top of the top," she said. "Private instructors, real flight hours, a full program." Then Tessa jumped in, smooth, like it was rehearsed. "It's just the tuition that's tricky. First year's $72,000. But you could help, babe." I thought she was joking. "You want me to chip in?" "No," she said, steady as anything. "We talked about it. You should pay it." Like a show of commitment to the family. My mouth went dry. I looked around. Rick was watching me like he was my boss. Diane nodded slowly like I was missing something obvious. Chase grinned like an idiot. And then Tessa said that line, cold, sharp, "Either you do this, or we're done." Quick note before we go on. Before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. The room went silent. Even Chase quit smiling. I looked at her. Really looked. She wasn't nervous. She wasn't pleading. She was delivering an ultimatum. Like we were closing a deal, not living a life together. "You all planned this?" I asked. No one answered. Didn't need to. I stood up, took my napkin off my lap, and dropped it on the plate. I didn't yell. Didn't throw anything. Just walked out the front door, got in my truck, and drove. She didn't follow. Not a single text. Not until hours later. But by then, I was already parked outside someone else's house, with a different kind of family in mind. I knocked once before letting myself into Lauren's house. The porch light was off, but I saw the kitchen light on through the window. Her girls were already asleep, probably had been for a while. The house was quiet except for the scratch of her pen against paper. She was at the kitchen table in an oversized sweatshirt, bills fanned out in front of her like a losing hand of cards. Her hair was pulled back messy, dark circles under her eyes. She looked up at me, gave me a tired smile, then looked back down. "Thought you had dinner with the Queen's Court tonight," she muttered, not looking up again. I pulled out a chair and sat across from her. "Yeah, didn't go as planned." She raised an eyebrow, but didn't ask. That's the thing about Lauren. She knew when not to push. She just kept sorting through overdue notices and final warnings. A red envelope caught my eye. "Power company." I didn't say anything. For the next hour, I didn't move. Just sat there while she penciled numbers into the margin of an old receipt and tried to make 3 digits cover 5. Her hands were shaking, but she kept going. Stubborn like always. She didn't cry. Not once. By the time she leaned back with a sigh, her shoulders were slumped so low I thought she might just slide out of the chair. "You want coffee?" she asked. "I'm good." She nodded, stood, and walked to the sink. I stayed until she turned off the light and headed to bed. Didn't say anything about the disaster I'd just walked out of. Didn't tell her what was building in my chest. Just watched her go up the stairs, quiet like a ghost. Next morning, I was at the bank when they opened. "Derek, my financial guy," Russ said with a smile. "Didn't think I'd see you again this quarter." "I'm liquidating the future fund," I told him. He blinked. "All of it. Every cent." He sat back. "That's a big move." Yup. He didn't ask questions. Just started typing. That account was meant for a down payment. A ring. Maybe a few little motorcycles parked in the driveway someday. But I'd already decided none of that was happening with Tessa. And Lauren sure as hell wasn't going to lose her lights because I was too stubborn to pivot. On my way out, I got the first text from Tessa. "Can we talk?" I didn't answer. 10 minutes later. "What the hell happened?" Then, "Was it about last night?" "Babe, you're overreacting." I turned the phone over and let it buzz on the passenger seat. 30 minutes later, I had a message from Rick. Not a text, a call. I let it ring. Then came the voicemail. "You're embarrassing yourself. This is what men do. They step up. That boy is going to be a pilot. And you're acting like some wounded dog. Grow up." He didn't know what stepping up looked like. I did. While they kept talking, I got to work. Called a lawyer I trusted. Asked about setting up protection for Lauren and the girls. Something long-term. A real safety net. She didn't know it yet, but I was done watching her drown while people like Rick threw cash at their idiot sons. I didn't rage, didn't yell. I planned, because this wasn't about Tessa anymore. Or me. This was about making sure the only person who'd never asked me for a damn thing wouldn't have to. By Friday, everything was in motion. The lawyer helped me set up a trust for the girls. Nothing complicated, just clean and airtight. I didn't want Lauren touching it unless it was for school, healthcare, or emergencies. It had to go straight to the kids. If something ever happened to me, I wanted it locked down. Next was the mortgage. Her name was on it, obviously. I walked into the credit union with a certified check, no questions asked. I paid the whole damn thing off in one go. The teller asked if I was sure. I said yes, handed her my ID, and didn't blink. Then came the hospital debt. After the accident, insurance only covered so much. The rest had been sitting in collections, quietly draining Lauren's credit while she was still buying groceries with coupons. I called the billing office, got a balance, and paid it outright. They asked if I was the spouse. I told them no, just family. Back home, I gathered all the paperwork, title releases, debt clearance letters, the trust documentation, and put it in a folder. But before I could give it to her, I needed one thing, her signature. So I called her up one night after work. Got a favor, I said. Need you to sign a couple documents. Just something I'm putting together for emergency planning. Family protection type stuff. She didn't even hesitate. Okay, bring it over. She never asked what it was protecting us from. I slid the folder across the table, pointed where to sign, and she did, without reading the fine print. When it came to trust, she gave it freely. Not once in 4 years did Tessa ever trust me like that. Speaking of, the texts were still coming. Can we talk soon? I didn't mean for it to sound like an ultimatum. It was a misunderstanding. We were just brainstorming ways to help Chase. Then Diane chimed in. It's a man's role to provide. Real men don't walk away from family responsibility. She sent that while I was boxing up Tessa's crap, drawer by drawer, shelf by shelf. Hair ties, cheap perfume, that ugly blue mug she always left in the sink. I didn't toss anything, didn't break a single thing. I just packed it all tight, labeled the box Tessa, and put it in the office. I changed the locks next. Front door, back door, garage. Had a new alarm code installed that same day. Wiped the guest profile from the security app. Every trace of her was gone before sunset. I didn't respond to a single message. Not one call. I didn't argue or explain or give them room to twist anything. Instead, I sat down at my desk and wrote a single email. To Tessa, Rick, Diane, Chase. Subject, closure. I wrote, a man does provide. He provides for the people who stand with him, not the ones who use him. I've paid off Lauren's mortgage, cleared the medical debt from her husband's accident, set up a trust for my nieces. All receipts are attached. Our relationship is over. A courier will return Tessa's belongings tomorrow. Do not contact me again. Then I hit send. No threat, no begging, just facts. I stood up, walked out of the room, and never looked back. The second I hit send, I blocked every last one of them. Phone, blocked. Email, blocked. Socials, gone. It was like slamming a door in a burning building and walking away without looking back. The silence didn't feel empty. It felt earned. Next morning, I met the courier at the shop and handed him the box with her name on it. Handle it with care, I said, even though I couldn't have cared less if it got dropped in a ditch. Back inside, I pulled down the garage door and got back to work. Client bike on the lift, tools laid out, country radio low in the background. It was a Wednesday, but it felt like a fresh start. For the first time in weeks, maybe months, my brain wasn't buzzing. There was no background noise of stress or guessing what mood Tessa was in or wondering what Chase had screwed up this time. Just clean metal, engine grease, and my own damn peace. By Friday, I was spending more time at Lauren's place again. Not hovering, just helping where I could. Recaulking windows, fixing the dryer that kept chewing up towels, little stuff she'd been too tired to deal with. I didn't make it a big thing. Her girls started popping into the shop more too. Olivia, the older one, was 9 and curious about everything. Abby was 6 and mostly just liked to spin around in the rolling chairs. You always this dirty? Olivia asked me one afternoon, wrinkling her nose at my hands. Yep, I said. Dirt's cheaper than therapy. She blinked. What's therapy? Ask your mom when you're older. They made the place louder, messier, and weirdly better. I found an old chopper frame buried behind the paint booth, rusted out but solid. Pulled it out, pressure washed it, and told the girls it was going to be our project bike. Lauren caught wind of it and tried to play stern. They better not be touching power tools. They're sanding chrome, I said, not building pipe bombs. She raised an eyebrow, but didn't stop me. Truth was, she smiled more those days. Still tired, but lighter. I could see it in her eyes. She'd stop by the shop just to say hi, or bring lunch when she had the time. Sometimes she'd sit with a coffee and watch us work, no rush to leave. I wasn't trying to replace anyone, not their dad, not anyone. I was just there, present, reliable. It wasn't complicated. Meanwhile, the silence from the other side held strong. No more texts, no random knocks, no fake emergencies. I figured maybe Rick and Diane were regrouping, maybe trying to spin it all behind the scenes. I didn't care. Let him spin. I wasn't part of their story anymore. The shop picked up. Word of mouth brought in some solid custom jobs. I started booking 2 months out. Guys were driving in from Charlotte, even Raleigh. They liked the noble vibe, I guess. Just a man, his tools, and a garage that smelled like grit and gasoline. I'd close up in the evenings and head straight to Lawrence. Dinner at her place was nothing like the polished performance at Rick and Diane's. Paper plates, kids fighting over crayons, TV on in the background. Real. One night, after the girls went to bed, Lauren looked at me across the table. "You okay?" I didn't answer right away, just nodded. She gave a small smile. "You look lighter." "Yeah," I said. "I feel it." And I did. No more fake expectations. No more feeling like a wallet with a face. Just good work, good people, and a purpose that didn't come with strings. By the next weekend, the whispers started. First it was a buddy from high school, Cole, texting me. "You good, man? Tessa's saying you bailed on her out of nowhere." Then Becca, who used to do my books before she moved her office to Greenville. I ran into Diane at the grocery store. "She said your sister's draining your savings." Called her a mooch. What the hell's going on? I didn't respond to either. Just left him on read. It didn't stop, though. Word was spreading. Tessa had flipped the whole thing into some poor me narrative, telling people I'd abandoned her after leading her on for years. Diane was out there saying I'd been manipulated by Lauren, that I'd chosen baggage over building a real future. They weren't subtle. They were loud and desperate. But here's the thing about small towns. You can't fake your way through one. People knew Lauren, knew her husband, Dan. He worked at the mill 15 years before it happened. Good man. He was the guy who showed up when your lawnmower broke or your kid needed a ride to practice. The whole town came to his funeral. People remember that kind of stuff. So when Diane started throwing around words like mooch and parasite, it didn't land. Not here. Not with folks who dropped off casseroles and diapers after Dan died. A few days later, Miss Shelby, who lived 2 doors down from Lauren and ran the local church bulletin, stopped by the shop. She leaned in and said, "You didn't hear it from me, but the Gazette's running a feature on a local man who paid off a widow's mortgage and medical debt." I blinked. Names? Nope. Just says he owns a custom shop and has 2 little grease monkey nieces. I laughed, more than I had in weeks. Subtle. That Sunday, the paper dropped. Front of the community section, black and white photo of Lauren's front porch. Fresh paint, new door, flower boxes under the windows. You couldn't see me in the pic, but the girls' drawings were taped to the glass like always. The article didn't name names, but it didn't have to. By Monday, everyone in town knew. And just like that, the smear campaign backfired. Rick and Diane started getting cold shoulders at the cafe. Their usual charity friends pulled out of their autumn brunch for veterans fundraiser. Word was the local VFW didn't want to be associated with them anymore. At the dealership, Rick was seen yelling at his receptionist when she forgot to take down a flyer from the Gazette with the feature circled in red. He was losing grip. One of Tessa's old friends, Tara, came by the shop for an oil change. Stood around a little too long after. "She's in full damage control," she told me. Tried to cry it out in the group chat. "Everyone's over it." "She's still living at home?" Tara nodded. "Yep, not working. Just stirring drama." I didn't respond. Just handed her the keys and went back inside. Whatever fantasy they tried to sell, that I was cold, cruel, led by some manipulative sister, none of it held up. Not when the truth was printed and passed around with coffee at the diner. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need applause. They dug their own hole. All I did was walk away from it. After that article dropped, the fallout hit fast. Chase didn't go to Skyfront. Word was, Rick couldn't co-sign the loan without blowing through their own savings, and no one else in the family had the credit. So the golden boy enrolled at West County Trade. HVAC program, I heard. Started part-time at a tool rental shop, cleaning returns and refueling generators. I almost felt bad for him. Almost. But then I remembered the smug look on his face when they dropped that tuition bomb on me like it was a wedding proposal. Rick and Diane weren't doing much better. The dealership pulled back sponsorships for local events. Diane stopped posting charity brunch photos like her life depended on it. They stopped hosting their usual wine-soaked Friday night parties. And the Range Rover stayed in the garage. People said they were fighting a lot. Some neighbor told Lauren she heard shouting through the walls one night. Something about public embarrassment and throwing everything away. Tessa was still at home. No job, no invites. Her little circle of manicured friends stopped, including her in birthday dinners and winery weekends. Nobody wanted to be tied to the mess. I didn't hear her name around town much anymore. She was fading out of relevance the way fake people do once they can't offer anything. Then I ran into her. It was a Thursday afternoon. I'd been out on a parts run and pulled into the gas station off Route 12. Just needed gas and a bottle of water. When I stepped out of the truck, I saw her, 3 pumps down, leaning against a silver sedan, scrolling her phone. She looked up right as I locked eyes with her. I didn't flinch, didn't fake smile. I just nodded once, casual. Her hand froze, mid-scroll. Her expression shifted, not angry, not sad, just exposed. She turned away, got in the car, and pulled off before her tank finished filling. I stood there for a second, hand still on the gas handle. You'd think there'd be something, some kind of emotion. Regret, pity, rage. But there was just nothing. Not empty. Just done. Like setting a wrench down when the job's finished. Clean hands. Closed book. I paid for my water and drove back to the shop. That night, Lauren made chicken Alfredo, and the girls talked over each other the whole meal. Abby showed me a picture she drew. Me, her, and Olivia in the shop, standing next to the half-built chopper. She said, "I gave you hair in this one." I laughed. "You liar." Lauren looked over and smiled. Real smile, not forced. That's what mattered. That was the life that kept moving while the other one, Tessa, Rick, Diane, all their polished nonsense, just froze and cracked under its own weight. Chapter closed. Locked. Buried. The changes in Lauren didn't hit all at once. It was little things at first. She stopped drinking gas station coffee, started making her own again, with real cream. She stopped wearing that beat-down hoodie every day, started doing her hair, even on weekends. Then one night, she told me she'd quit her night job. I raised an eyebrow. "You serious?" She nodded. "Yeah, it's done. I want to be present for the girls, not a zombie on 3 hours of sleep." She didn't say it, but I knew the real reason she could quit. The mortgage being gone took a mountain off her chest. Now she made breakfast with them before school, picked them up in the afternoons, helped with homework without falling asleep at the table. She was around, really around, and it showed. Abby smiled more. Olivia stopped flinching at every loud noise. The whole house felt warmer, like something settled back into place. Then came Mike. I met him one weekend when I swung by to help with the gutters. Tall guy, mid-30s, calloused hands, quiet voice, drove an old Ford. He was helping Lauren build a shed out back. Nothing fancy, just something to store the girls' bikes and tools. I watched from the porch for a bit. He handed her boards without trying to take over. Let her drill her own holes. Didn't treat her like glass. When I walked up, he wiped his hands and held one out. "You must be the brother." "Depends who's asking." Lauren rolled her eyes. "Derek, don't be a jackass." I shook his hand. Firm grip. No performance. Later, when she stepped inside to grab water, he leaned against the post beside me and said, "She talks about you a lot. You've done a lot for them." I didn't answer, just nodded, and kept watching the girls chase each other through the yard. Seeing her come back to life like that, smiling, sleeping, building again, it was better than any return on investment I'd ever had. And it made something click inside me. For the first time in forever, I stopped thinking about the mess I walked out of. I stopped replaying Tessa's voice, or Rick's lectures, or Diane's smugness. I started thinking maybe I'd be alright too. Back at the shop, I pulled out a project bike I'd been saving for years. A 72 shovelhead, half rust, half promise. No client, no deadline, just me. I stripped it down to the frame, cleaned every inch, laid out the tools like it was church. Didn't build it for money, didn't build it for praise. Built it because I could. I was in the office one night, elbows deep in carb parts and shop dust, when the email came through. 6 months of silence. Then there it was, from Tessa Graham. Subject line, no expectations. Just read. I almost deleted it right there without opening it. But curiosity's a hell of a thing. I clicked. "Hey, I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from. I'm not writing to fight or fix things. I'm in therapy now. I've been doing a lot of work. I see how wrong I was. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I didn't understand what it meant to be a real partner. Not asking for anything. Just, would be nice to talk sometime. That's all." I stared at the screen. Not angry. Not nervous. Just quiet. She said she wasn't asking to get back together, but I could see it. The subtext. The hope. Like maybe if she sounded humble enough, human enough, I'd let her back in the door. 6 months ago, I might have answered. Might have thought there was still something left to salvage. But now, I was good. Lauren was thriving. Her girls were healthy. The shed in the backyard had shelves lined with paint cans and rollerblades. I had grease on my hands every day and clean air in my lungs every night. No drama. No tightrope walking. I read the email twice, then once more. And then I hovered over the trash icon. I didn't respond, didn't overthink it, didn't weigh the right words, or wonder how she'd take the silence. That fixer part of me, the guy who bent over backward, glued broken things, said yes when he should have walked, that guy was gone. She wasn't my problem to solve anymore. Click, deleted, just like that. The weight slipped off my chest. Not heavy before, but still there, lingering, like dust in a vent you forgot to check. I leaned back in the chair, cracked my knuckles, and let out a slow breath I didn't know I'd been holding. Then I got back to work. About a week after I deleted Tessa's email, Lauren called me mid-morning. "You home? Shop's quiet. What's up? Come by. I got something you need to see." She didn't say more, but her voice had that mix of confusion and edge that told me it wasn't about the girls or a broken appliance. I drove over, knocked once, and walked in. She was standing at the kitchen table holding a thick cream envelope with a gold crest on the corner. She handed it to me like it was radioactive. "Read it," she said. Inside was a formal letter from the East Carolina Education Fund, some polished language, a couple stamps, and the kicker: an anonymous donor has established a memorial scholarship in honor of Daniel Kincaid. It will fully fund one student per year for the next 10 years, with priority given to children of widowed or single-parent households in the Tri-County area. I reread it 3 times. Lauren crossed her arms. "Wasn't me. And it damn sure wasn't anyone on Dan's side. They don't have that kind of money." I didn't say anything, just looked at her. She raised an eyebrow. "It was them, wasn't it?" "Yeah," I said. "Rick and Diane." The timing, the polished charity name, the anonymous label. It was classic damage control. She let out a low whistle and sat down. "You think it's guilt?" "No. They don't feel guilt. This is about reputation, public image." She shook her head, half laughing. "So they tried to rob you blind, got caught, and now they're handing out their own money to fix the mess they made?" "Pretty much." The irony hit deep and clean. These were the same people who demanded 72 grand, like it was a test of manhood. Now here they were, throwing thousands into a scholarship fund in Dan's name just to avoid being the town pariahs. I didn't feel smug. I didn't even feel angry, just satisfied, like watching a slow-motion boomerang finally come back around. Lauren was still staring at the letter. This is real, right?" she asked. "This isn't some stunt that'll disappear next week." I nodded. "It's real. I know the fund. Legit operation." She didn't smile, just looked down at the paper again and whispered, "He deserved to be remembered." "He is," I said, "and not the way they intended." They didn't get a plaque. They didn't get applause. Nobody was patting them on the back. Hell, most people probably didn't even know it was them. But we knew. They couldn't buy me back, couldn't rewrite what they'd tried to pull. So they did the only thing they had left, gave away their own money. Quietly, privately. And even in that, they'd given more to Dan's name than they ever did when he was alive. I set the envelope back down and grabbed my keys. "Where you going?" Lauren asked. "Shop. Got some chrome to polish." She grinned. "Take your time. I'm framing that thing." I drove straight back to the shop and didn't say a word to anyone about the letter. It didn't need to be a story. It was just one more piece of a past I no longer owed anything to. These days, life's quieter, simpler. I get up early, open the garage, put on a fresh pot of coffee, and dive into the day. Custom jobs, rebuilds, walk-ins, it all flows. My waiting list's full through next season, and I've got enough steady work to keep the lights on and the tools moving. But the best part of the week? Weekends at Lauren's. I help her with whatever project's next, paint touch-ups, fixing the fence, adding a ceiling fan in the girls' room. I bring over donuts, the cheap kind with too much powdered sugar, and get roped into bike rides through the neighborhood or sidewalk chalk battles that somehow end with my jeans covered in glitter. The peace in that house is real, earned. I see it in Abby's laugh when she beats me in a race. I see it in Olivia's focus when she's sketching out a design for our next shop project. I see it in Lauren when she leans on the porch railing at night and smiles without forcing it. One of my customers, guy named Eddie, asked me last week why I haven't expanded yet. "Shop's booming," he said. "Why not hire more help? Open a second location?" I told him the truth, because I've already got everything I need. The story still floats around town. People heard what happened. Some details got twisted, but the core stayed intact. They know who stepped up and who didn't. They know who tried to take and who gave without being asked. Tessa's family's still out there, trying to rebuild their image, showing face at local events, pretending nothing ever happened. But the shine's gone. No one's buying what they're selling anymore. And me? I didn't ruin them. I didn't need to. All I did was stop letting them use me. That night at dinner wasn't just a turning point for me. It was a damn reset for everyone I care about. Lauren got her footing. The girls got stability. Even Dan's memory got lifted up where it belonged. They wanted me to do the bare minimum. Instead, I raised the bar.